Alrighty. Good morning. We're coming out of recess from earlier today. The agenda item we had listed for 10:30 is review of our county risk profile with CTSI, but our assessor could not join us earlier because she was on jury duty and she's been released. So I'd like to actually have Amanda call the roll, and we'll form as the Board of Equalization for the moment and take the report from the assessor.
Commissioner Richardson?
Here.
Commissioner Thayer?
Here.
Commissioner Pettit?
Here.
All righty. So for the moment, we're the Board of Equalization. Come on up, Susan.
Okay, well, good morning, commissioners. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate you putting that off until later. So I was happy to come up the stairs and find out that you waited for me. So anyway, this is the annual report that we give regarding the valuation for 2022. And this would be for the 2023 budget cycle for the financial people, because we work in so many different years. I did provide the information to all of you yesterday, so I hope you've had an opportunity to look at that. I thought that I wouldn't read through the entire program, but just kind of wanted to touch bases, number one, with the Senate Bill 21-293, originally slotted for 2022 and 2023 rate reduction, and now we know that it is just a temporary rate reduction for 22, and 23 is a whole nother animal. We won't speak about that today. So with the actual value, we have actual so-called market value, and then you have the assessed value, which is the assessment rate multiplied by that, whatever classification it is, which gives us our assessment rate value. So the 22 taxable, which is also assessed value, is $495,785,140, an increase in value of $984,270. So that being said, this is an intervening year, and the values for the increase this year is for unusual conditions. So we've got new construction, omitted property, or destroyed property for the intervening year. So most of this increase in value is due to the new construction. And I would like to give credit to the appraisal team and staff and all of the staff in the assessor's office for all of the new construction that they picked up and all of the inspections. They've completed over 1,500 inspections in the last year, and 1,000 of those have been residential new construction, or for a 5-year inspection, new construction, or a sales inspection where they've updated property records. So I'm very proud of the work that they're doing in there. There was of course, the vacant land shows a decrease because the vacant land goes from vacant to new construction. There's a decrease there. Residential increase due to the new construction. Commercial had a slight increase for new construction. Agriculture properties showed an increase because of property tax classification change. But you'll see the increase in actual value, but an actual decrease in assessed value because that assessment rate went to 26.4. So that is where that shortfall came from on my assessor notes. So natural resources had a slight decrease. The oil and gas, of course, production had a decrease. And then we also have 4 pipeline gathering oil and gas that are they're pulling out, and so that decrease is like 50%. That's a decrease in assessed value. State assessed went up over $1 million, and so that pulled us out of a basically a flat taxes, and so now we see an increase of taxes about $27,000 this year. So I'm not sure if you guys have any questions on any of this. It did get a little complicated administratively, but that's kind of where we're at. As far as appeals for this year, we received 11. 6 of those were adjusted, 5 denied, and then now we're on to the County Board of Equalization where we have 1. We did send out a recent mailing for agriculture properties. Over 650 new property owners received agriculture questionnaires. We do have a second round of ag questionnaires for new owners and split parcels going out the end of August, early September, depending on our workloads. So quite busy in there. There's a lot going on. Anxious to start working on 2023 for you all because it's going to be a big difference for our reappraisal year and then all of the legislative changes that are taking place. So we'll start working on that for you so we can get a hold of where we're at for 23, fiscal year 24. So is there any questions? Did you have any?
I know you sent out something the other day that showed that they had a 30,000, minus a 30,000, I think, for commercial and minus 15,000. What was that?
Oh, yeah.
Was that on actual or assessed value?
I believe it's actual.
Okay.
So it'll take, whatever we come up with for, and again, I'm still digging into it and I have to follow the rules by the Division of Property Taxation. Right. But what is going to happen is that residential properties will decrease by $15,000. I believe that's actual value, Rick. And then $30,000 for commercial properties. So I'm sure that our CAMA system will have a handy tool by then in place for us to do that. So we'll apply our values probably first for 2023 and then complete that task, that reduction. So it's going to be hard for taxing authorities. I believe it's going to be a difficult task in trying to set their budgets with all of the legislative changes. It's not going to be easy. A lot of not so black and white right now, but again, the more information I get from the higher ups, I will pass that on to you guys as well so we can keep a hold of what's going to happen in 23. I know you guys are watching that closely too.
I was going to say, at least on the one positive, I guess, that the legislature will be at a session by the end of May, so
right.
We won't be waiting up until
right.
October or November to know what the assessment rate will be.
Right. 24 is up in the air though, but something could happen by then, so.
Well, thank you much, and appreciate all the work you guys do down there. So.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay. Appreciate you guys waiting for me too. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, so I move that we adjourn as the Board of Equalization and Reform as the Board of County Commissioners. Does that work for you as a motion, Amanda?
So moved.
Okay.
So second.
All righty, so we're the Board of County Commissioners. Oh, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay, so we're the Board of County Commissioners again. Meredith, welcome. So just so you do know, we are recording the session and it live streams as well, so there aren't a lot of folks here there. Who knows? Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for letting me come today. Really just kind of a courtesy call, little FaceTime with the commissioners. My name's Meredith Burcham. I'm the executive director at CTSI. I've been there for many years and various roles, so really looking forward to taking this on and continuing to serve the members. But really, first and foremost, want to thank you all for your commitment to the pools. That's obviously what makes... Oh. A little closer. Is that better? Maybe I can move it up. There we go. Is that better? Okay. Thank you for your commitment. Elbert County's been in CWCP and CAP since 1985 and 86, and that's around the time the pools were formed. And CHP, you all joined, I think, in 98, then you left for a while, came back in 2010. So you're actually members of all three pools. So just want to thank you for that. We value your membership for sure. I know loss control comes out and kind of does a deeper dive of your loss analysis. So actually with Elbert County, and I haven't seen anything that's been extraordinary. I think slips, trips, and falls for workers' comp is pretty much where the utilization and severity is for that. With CAP, it looks like weather-related, so you're out here on the Eastern Plains, and then law enforcement, which is not uncommon from the rest of CAP. That's actually where the majority of our claims are, especially with law enforcement, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But just with CHP, I just actually briefly looked at that. That will be coming out too. It looks like you're running very well too in that area with about an 85% loss ratio with CHP, so that's pretty good. It kind of jumped up from last year, but that's all right. You know, it's what healthcare is, the most volatile of the three pools. We see the most ups and downs actually each year for each county within the pools. And then good risk management is obviously very important for the pools. We feel like you all have pretty much, you know, jumped on board and done your part in that. The philosophy behind that is just obviously the good risk management will help keep your losses down for the county, but then it also keeps it down for the whole pool as well. And we want to help, you know, assist you however we can. I think two of the things with CTSI that I've been really focusing on a lot is our membership. Obviously, it's a membership organization, but then the service. You know, what can we do to help where we need to help? So loss prevention's there. We also have other services through CTSI that I'll mention too. I would also like to point out something unique, just as a reminder with the pools, is since we do share in the costs, if you have a large loss, you aren't fully weighted for that loss, you know, in your upcoming contributions that we have. We have formulas actually for all three of the pools that actually look at 3 years for CWCP and CAP, and then for CHP it's actually 2 years. So we look at that, and we also create loss factors. So there's still that sharing, but then there's also a little bit weighted for each county if they happen to have a little higher exposure or more losses perhaps that year. Also, just kind of looking to renewal to kind of give you an idea where we're headed. We're just starting the processes for all three pools. We just collected all the info from the counties for CAP and CWCP. And then what we have to do with those is actually send our data off to our brokers, since we have to purchase excess coverage. So last year we were kind of really down to the wire. Usually they won't give us a quote until 90 days out, and our renewal ends December 31st. But we were actually right before our membership meeting. So we're hoping to not have that. If that does occur, we're going to do a better job this year of actually communicating to the membership of what's going on. But I'll start with CHP. Actually just kind of looking at our trends. We're meeting with Anthem next week. We actually have a ASO agreement with them, and we utilize them for our excess. We're actually running really well with CHP this year, actually excellent, it looks like, with our claims trend. We saw some decline, you know, with COVID, and then I think last year we did see a little bit of an uptick with more people were going to utilize again, you know, kind of putting electives to the side when they were with COVID. But this year it's kind of normalized, so that actually looks good. From what I can see, and anticipating a really good renewal, probably in the single digits again, lower single digits for CHP. As far as legislation that's come out to impact that, haven't seen too much. The surprise billing has actually been kind of being put in place the last couple years, and that's something that actually CHP, portions of that we've already done within our plans. If you had you're getting surgery and an assistant surgeon comes in that you didn't realize was going to be there, that's something that CHP had already taken on and would go ahead and pay the cost. But we'll keep up with that and continue to work with that. CWCP actually nationally, was just reading that, is running very well. Comp claims are down, the comp costs are down. So I anticipate again that we'll have a good CWCP renewal this year. We have a very decent amount of surplus. We don't want to hold on to too much of the member surplus, so we're looking again this year when we do the budget at giving back a decent amount of equity to the members. So that's in your pockets, and we're not holding on to more than we actually need to hold on to. CAP was actually our not so good renewal last year. We weren't the only ones though with CAP. I think it's a national issue that's been going on. Just to kind of sum up last year, we with CAP for many, many years, we were able with our liability to keep our pool retention is what we pay within the pool up to $250,000. And unfortunately, with the way that things have changed with law enforcement, the EPLI claims, employment terminations, and just the overall catastrophic events that have happened globally, which CAP is a little different. The casualty and property market, you look at globally, while CWCP and CHP, the health, you can drill down a little bit more locally and kind of weed out some of those events that don't actually impact Colorado. But when you're buying excess, which we have to do to be able to service our members, provide coverage, we are subject to the global market too, which would include the wildfires, the hurricanes, any other events that are happening. So taking that all into consideration and kind of looking at our risk as a pool, public entities, law enforcement, we had to actually increase our liability to $1 million, and then our law enforcement, we separated that retention out to $1.5 million. So in doing that, we had to increase our loss fund, where we collect the money to pay the pool claims that come into the pool layer, and there wasn't that much reduction also in the excess portion that we had to pay for, unfortunately. We also did then looked at raising some deductibles. We've relatively had low deductibles for the counties within the CAP pool, which has been nice. But now that we're starting to see cost increase, we thought, we kind of have to increase those a little bit, and we added a law enforcement since that was our biggest cost driver at $25,000 for this year. So we also continue to have cyber, but unfortunately, Chubb, who is the excess carrier that we had for our cyber coverage, and we marketed other carriers too. Last year, we're very tentative in actually taking on any risk for public entities. They felt that they weren't as sophisticated in their security systems that they had in place. So one of the requirements we had for our renewal last year and this year was to actually fill out cyber applications to make sure that you're adding your MFAs and that you have secure systems in place. I would say that the majority of the counties, in looking at them, have either have them or are on their way to implementing them. So I think that will be good for marketing this upcoming year. As far as though the capacity for cyber coverage and if they're interested in it, that will be more to come as we get into renewal. But hopefully we'll still be able to have that as an added coverage for the CAP pool. And looking towards renewal for law enforcement and liability, as far as the CAP pool as a whole, we've had some relatively larger claims in the last couple years. We had I think the largest we've ever had was a $9.5 million just this year law enforcement claim. So we're really trying to get out there and make sure that the counties are within their departments, and especially right now, law enforcement are, making sure they're following their protocols, policies. We obviously can't control the climate of the jury right now, and that's obviously not in the favor of law enforcement. So if we can do our best to make sure that we're trying to follow protocols, doing the proper training, that can help limit some of that exposure. And most of the sheriff departments have actually been really on board and doing a good job, I feel like, in keeping those in place and moving forward to where we need to be. This year we did also have to add a supplemental questionnaire for our renewal for excess of, are your officers wearing body cams? Do you have the dash cam? What are your policies and procedures? And I just reviewed them yesterday, and I would say, almost all the counties are at least have body cams, or they're putting them in by this year. And I know there's that SB 217 where they actually have to have them by July of next year. The dash cams, most of them aren't using those, they're just using the body cams. And I would say most of the counties have some kind of training that they're following or using LexiPol for their procedures. But we'll take a more look at that and just see if we have any other suggestions, just to help make sure that we're getting the coverage that we need for all the members and making sure that we're trying to keep those costs down. So with CAP, I don't foresee raising those retentions. I would be very surprised if we had to raise those again. Property, we're still at a 150,000. The wind and hail, a few years ago, we did have to increase that to 1 million. Knock on wood, we haven't had very many high property claims in the last couple of years. So I think we're actually sitting pretty well for that renewal going forward. But I still think we're going to have increases. Inflation costs are affecting everything. So I think we will have some. I just don't anticipate it as being as high as it was last year or such drastic changes that we had. We are going to try to, as I mentioned, communicate as much as we can to make sure membership knows what's going on and are prepared and there's no surprises. The other thing, just wanted to make sure that everyone knows about our value-added services at CTSI. We obviously focus on insurance and risk management. That's what we do for you all. But we have Dennis Hunt. He comes out and can help with budgets, issues with Board of County Commissioners, how to run meetings, things like that. And he can review policies and whatnot. We also continue to do our tech updates, which we try to make sure that they're relevant to maybe what's going on at the counties, county fairs. We get a lot of questions. We try to make sure we get something out, or legislation that's changing, something that you all may need to do. We want it to be beneficial and useful. One thing we added this year is Lunch and Learns, and so we're trying to get those going. We just had one for CAP on law enforcement. We had our CAP attorney come and actually speak on the SB 217, and so we're going to look at doing some more of those too. Our next one's going to be on budgets, and then we're going to do one for workers' compensation also. Just kind of get more ways for, whether it's staff or commissioners, to kind of get some training and get some more services. We rolled out the Biz Library, which has been beneficial. We've gotten some positive feedback. That has a lot more training videos than we're able to do with just our loss prevention. And then we added the pre-loss legal. So, counties have county attorneys, and that's great, but sometimes they might need a little help with maybe an HR issue, especially with employment termination claims we've had, since that's been a big cost driver too. So we actually allow for the 30 minutes of a free consultation with our CTSI attorney. And then if you want more, you can contract direct with them. So we're tracking that too to see. We've had some good reach out to her on some employment issues. So hopefully it's been able to mitigate maybe a lawsuit or something happening within the county. And that's really all I have. I really just wanted to come out and just thank you for your commitment. We value that, kind of let you know what's happening with renewal, where we're at. Really just, if you need anything, you can definitely call me direct. I know we have different staff for things, but I just want you to know that I'm available too. And we just look forward to working with you and appreciate your commitment. I don't know if you have any questions or feedback for me too. I'm happy to answer questions or take something back if I need to.
From the staff side, I know I do appreciate the working relationship with you and your staff at every level. I know HR, I think, was meeting today to talk about additional flexibility in the CHP. And so,
Yep.
Like I said, I hope we're over the hump with CAP.
Yeah, I know.
But our
I hope
sheriff's
so.
office did field all new body cams, new tasers. I mean, they're all set now.
Yeah.
If they draw a weapon or a taser, the camera's automatically triggered. If they hit the lights or go over a certain speed in the vehicle, the dash cams will activate, so.
Good.
so We're a good year ahead on that, which
Yeah, okay, good.
was good.
That's great.
Before we went into COVID, I know we'd started kind of breaking out the kind of the risk history briefings to do some standalones for the sheriffs. Have we continued that, or are we?
The loss analysis?
Yeah.
With the sheriffs? Yes.
Okay.
We just started this year doing a 5-year loss analysis with the sheriff departments, and John and Marilyn have kind of started rolling those out. So I don't know if they've done Elbert yet, but they'll be contacting, and those seem to be going very well. And what is also happening is it's just getting them, to talk and communicate about things, and I think that's great.
And I guess the other, I know actually there was a technical bulletin on it within the last year, but I mentioned we're just starting construction on a new road and bridge shop. When do we add that upon occupation at some?
Yeah,
construction,
we have a builder's risk to $2 million. If it's going to exceed that, then we would need to get some information on it. And then just to let Brenda know it's in construction, and then once it's built, then we can actually add it to your property schedule.
So the builder risk, it's capped at $2
Yeah,
million?
yes.
Okay. So, yeah, that's one we probably should talk about.
Yeah. Yes, and she would be the one, and she'd be happy to walk you through that process.
And then rapidly we should be taking off
Yeah,
the old shop, so once we get.
that'll be nice.
Yeah.
And then your annual reports, I think we mailed those out too, but forgot to mention, those are just a good way to really look at what your membership organization's doing financially, the services. I think it's just a great document to have. Just shows what we're doing for you all too.
I appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
So,
Thank you so much.
yeah. All righty, so we don't have anything else. We're in recess till 1 p.m. at this location to hear land use, so thanks.